What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Austin, and welcome to the DevvE Roundup. And joining me at an ungodly early time in Australia is Mr. Davin Broadbent. Davin, thanks so much for being here, buddy. Good to see you.
You too, Austin. Good to be here.
Yeah, good to be seen, buddy. All right, so I know the community wants to hear about. So we talked about Paris on the last roundup, and you were jet setting, right? Hanging out in the UK for a little bit. You popped over to Token 2049 with Phil. So what I expect is some story that Phil doesn't want you to tell us to start off about him. Just kidding, unless you have one. But really, I think the community would be interested to know, like, what was going on in Dubai. Like, what was that all about?
Yeah, no, Dubai was crazy. Anyone that's ever been will kind of have a bit of a feel for kind of what that place is like. And they're a massive kind of Web3 adopter, like as a kind of a place. They're really looking to drive business and bring business to them. They've set up a bunch of kind of free zones and a bunch of governmental organizations effectively just to drive Web3 technology. It's probably one of the most adoptive and forward-thinking places that I've been to, and I've obviously having been to Paris, who have a very different approach, and they're very measured, and I think the comparison is chalk and cheese. So we were talking earlier about the Paris experience, and again the trajectory that they've taken, and it's been really good to see, because again they've done all of the things that you would expect a state or a country or anyone who's serious about adopting a new technology and exploring all of these opportunities. They've gone through that kind of discovery phase. They've gone through the bringing all of the kind of brightest sparks and minds and kind of the lawyers together, and they've created regulation, they've created frameworks. They really have tried to wrap their hands around the whole kind of blockchain technology, Web3, its capabilities, the potential. They've examined the market. I think they've learned obviously from the .com kind of era and how quickly technology can move, and they really tried to get in front of that. It's been a process. It's been slow, but it's been really interesting to watch. But their approach is incredibly methodical, very supportive. But it's moved from that kind of hype and enthusiasm phase into a kind of a very pathway directed channel kind of, and we're now seeing, and what we did see from Paris was a lot of institutional, involvement. There's a lot of noise and excitement, around the real possibility that governments and institutional partners can now start to play in this space, which is exactly what we want. It's perfect for us. It aligns exactly with our with our strategy. And so Paris was brilliant for that reason. We saw a lot of those types of organizations participating, having very meaningful conversations, and in a very measured way. Whereas 2049 was completely different. Like, it was, I'm talking the main event itself was, I've never seen more people packed into a space, in my life. It was 44 degrees in kind of real money outside. I don't know what that is in US temperatures, but over 100 apparently. Yeah, it was really hot. We had, it was, I was overwhelmed and inundated with, requests, conversations, meetings, people that wanted to catch up and talk about, everything from, offering us services, marketing, etc., to, pitching, and vice versa, right? It's very hard to find those kind of, those meaningful conversations. But where we did find a lot of that was around a lot of the side events. And so the whole place for a week, traffic was a nightmare. I don't think Dubai was really ready for what 2049 became, but where it was really valuable was that a lot of the participants, a lot of the larger blockchain, Web3, and crypto projects were aware of the kind of the atmosphere and the situation, and so they created these very curated kind of side events. And a big shout out to Paul, actually, at Cointelegraph, who we did a lot of work with. You might have seen a photo of me pitching on stage there. Those guys were amazing, and there were lots and lots of really kind of impactful meetups, side events, and things that we spent, probably 50% of our time in taxis, heading from one of these to the other, to the other, to the other. And that's probably something that Phil was, yeah, not telling stories out of school, but I think by the end of it, he's like, if I ever have to see another taxi, like I'm done with this. Because even though the distances weren't great, it's so hot outside that you just can't walk them. You know, it's like 5 kilometers from here to
Mm.
there, but it takes ages because everyone's trying to get around, and the whole place is just crazy. 8 lanes of traffic, and it's all the car park.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you guys are taking these meetings. I mean, what is the basic, like, obviously you traveling to Dubai, it's no small trip there, right? So when you were on stage, you had just mentioned that. What was that exactly? Were you pitching to a room of, VCs?
Yeah, so there would have been about 300 people in the room. We were basically pitching Dev Digital, Dev Exchange. There were a bunch of VCs there. We had some really good chats with those guys as well. In fact, I was probably asked more questions, I think, than any of the other pitches. But again, it was just a really valuable opportunity to get our brand out, to tell our story, and to, I guess, kind of, speak to a room full of people who get it, who understand. And Paul again from Cointelegraph organized that. It went really well. We had a really good response. I ended up probably spending the next hour and a half just literally getting kind of tapped on the shoulder by people from all sorts of different industries. We had in fact, it resonated really well with the market makers. We had a few family offices come up and talk to us as well. We had a couple of RWA funds and some other people very interested in what we're doing, and the story around kind of regulation, recourse, fraud, theft, loss. All of these things are things that really resonate with those kind of those types of businesses, industries, and markets. And that's really what we want. At the end of the day, we want to have conversations with serious people, serious partners, and potential opportunities to collaborate as we move towards deploying on the exchange.
Beautiful. And I appreciate you sharing that with me. For anyone that's watching, I really didn't probe into how Dubai went. I heard there were a bunch of follow-up calls set up, and that sort of thing's kind of like hey, I met you. Let me remind you who I was. You might have been half in the bag at that point, but let's have a phone call sometime this week. Well, that's cool. That's very, very cool. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. So one thing that I wanted to kind of point out that I've been noticing a lot, right? So we've got regulation in the US that is accelerating. We're trying to, right? They came out with an announcement today saying that banks that are custodying crypto can now actually trade those assets on behalf of their clients.
Very exciting. Yeah.
Pretty big deal, right? It's a pretty big deal. And so, obviously the thing that folks are putting that in there and they're going, I wish DevvE was a part of this conversation, right? And I wish DevvE was a part of that conversation. I'm wondering, like, are there things like that happening in the background? You're sharing a lot of, connections that are being made, and with the lion's share or a lot of our team being US based. As far as like our go-to-market strategy with the exchange, is it we're gonna, hit the conferences and pitch to 300 people? Is it like, what is it exactly, if I were to ask?
Yeah, no, really good question. And again, a lot of these things kind of sit in the Raytom kind of wheelhouse. We have, we are very, very lucky in terms of how well connected we are, and the opportunities that are kind of put in front of us. One of Ray's favorite sayings is, let's make sure that the thing is the thing, right? There are too many kind of shiny objects and too many distracting things. You could spend the next 10 years exploring all of these opportunities. I know that we've been invited to some very high level, governmental, sessions and, consultations, in the US and kind of with other state level partners and people that we've been in long negotiations with, long conversations with. These things do take a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of resource. Our focus is the exchange, and we have to kind of maintain that track and that trajectory. And, it doesn't matter, whether you have unlimited budget or resource, if you do not focus and execute, on the thing that you are really trying to deliver on, it's really, really easy to get distracted. So I guess in a nutshell, yes, is the answer to your question. We are participating. We're having some very, very good high level conversations, with all sorts of industry players and partners, and again, pick a name out of a hat that you've heard of in either crypto or TradFi, and there's a better than average chance that we've had more than one conversation with them around opportunities and a range of other things. I can't really talk about how they're progressing in line with our wider strategy, because again, there's a lot that we're a business. We have to kind of maintain our market advantage. We have to again be very careful around what we promise, because again, we don't want to overpromise. We want to make sure that we are delivering and in line with the expectations that we will be able to kind of meet for our partners, and amongst them are Taylor Bark, right? We have a lot of work that we're doing in order to fulfill our obligations on the side of Dev Digital relating to that partnership. And that's incredibly exciting, because that unlocks so much potential for us as well, just in relation to the banks and in relation to other products and financial services markets.
No, great answer. And I know that, like, when I tee you up for a how is XYZ going that hasn't had a formal announcement yet, right? I know that we're limited in like what we can talk about. And believe it or not, with the DMs that I get, more often than not, those are the ones that I'm getting, right? Like, how's the licensing process going? How's the development of the exchange going? Things of that nature. And I can just sense, I know the community wants to like know what's going on there.
Yeah, no, and I get it completely. And to be fair, all I can say is that all of these things are kind of top of mind for us, for the team. And I know that while I can't speak to everything that Tom and Ray are working on, I know that those things are kind of critical in terms of their focuses and their deliveries. It's a case of we have to let the let the pieces fall and continue to follow on the path that we've kind of planned out for ourselves. So from a go-to-market point of view, again, we're working through all of those critical partnerships. We're working through the ability to be able to deliver both on the technology side and on the other side in terms of having all of the pieces and critical pieces in place to be able to go to market and launch. And then it's about the awareness piece. A big part of that as well is going to come from what we're doing on the referral side. Phil's had some big wins on that side as well, which is really, really interesting. So we're just following through there. And again, it may not seem like it, Austin, because I know that everybody in crypto just wants news and announcements and updates and partnerships and all of that stuff that seems to kind of excite the market. But we are putting all of that in place and more. And it is a process. It takes time.
Great answer, man. And I want to throw something at you that I know, well, this is unscripted. He didn't know this one was coming, but I do have a question for you. It does look like, and this is me looking at the chart. I have another computer over here with charts on it, right? We've got Bitcoin just tapped over 102,000 with Ethereum at up 19% today. And that screams, dominance down 1 point. So dominance is coming down for the first time.
That's interesting.
That signals that we might be moving towards, dare I say, I don't want to even say it.
Don't say the word. Don't say the word.
So with the thing, potentially coming soon, right? We know kind of how that's going to sit within the community, right? And they're going to want now, bring it now. And we kind of know how that goes. And I guess the question that I've seen reverberating lately, because even though I'm not, chatting really actively, I am reading the messages, is what is DevvE doing to capitalize on the upcoming bull run? And that is, really direct.
Yeah, again, really, really good question. I don't want to, in fact, I have to be incredibly careful, as I always am, to not kind of overpromise, and to kind of be very straight up and kind of as clear as I can with the community. We are incredibly aware of the market conditions. That's not our focus. That's not we are not a hype project. I've said this so many times. It's not funny. What we are is a project that's building probably arguably the most utility into a token that the market will have ever seen. Not just from a a demand driver and a supply and demand point of view, but from a pure utility point of view. If we were to compare kind of apples to apples and what Ethereum does with gas or what most of the other L1s do in terms of just shoehorning their token into the process to create that value, none of that is what's happening on the DevvE side. Conversely, right, I know that they're wanting to see all of these kind of market movements and drivers that kind of force the token up and do all of that other stuff. If you look at Cardano, or if you look at Ripple as just two examples, one is an example of a project that arguably just has not yet delivered in sort of 6 or 7 years of actually kind of, just kind of moving through a process. And they're a top 10 project. And the other, it has been fundamentally separated from the underlying blockchain. And I'm not saying there's no utility. I'm not saying that, again, it is it's a completely different narrative, and both are great businesses. Both are great businesses, despite what you think about them, and they are polarizing in certain aspects within the market. So yeah, on the Ripple side, the offer to acquire Circle and kind of everything that they're doing shows their commitment to build a significant Web3 business that kind of interacts with all of the TradFi space, etc. On the stablecoin side, we've seen Stripe move into the industry recently, and that is again huge from an adoption point of view. All of these things are incredibly positive. All of these things are very, very good, and all of them will have an underlying impact and effect, not just on this market, the one that we're seeing now, and the market cycle, but in terms of normalizing and bringing that adoption. We've seen very, very similar things. I know, back in 2016, 2017, everyone was talking about the similarities to the dot-com cycle and the bubble and all of these things. I think that narrative is still really true. And all of the work that is being done now, not just on our project and DevvE, the token, but in the market in general, is laying that foundation for a successful future in terms of real projects with real value, driving real utility in the crypto space. And again, I know it's a tired narrative, but when you tell people now that they're early, I mean, they're early, right? You're still early. You until the day that you are able to walk into a store anywhere in the world and buy something with your crypto without having to go through kind of any banking partnerships or any of the other kind of unnecessarily convoluted processes, or when you're able to kind of trade value against your mobile phone contract because you can see that there are savings, when you are able to trust your voting systems and your mechanisms around identity and your details, because that those records are immutable and that there's no chance that somebody's messing around. When all of those things are realities, that's when you're not early anymore, right? That's when the market is now ready to start expanding and maturing. Until we get to that point, it's still being built, being defined, being created. And so I will say to the people that are interested on kind of our strategy to capitalize on the market and all the rest of it, it's really up to you. It's up to everybody that believes in what we're doing, to really kind of choose to believe or choose to to adopt. Because if you have that belief, if you see that vision, if you see that future, then of course that's what you should be doing. You should be supporting that. You should be making those decisions. If you don't, or if you just want to wait and see, again, that's a perfectly valid decision. Understand that there's an opportunity cost. Understand that you will see these kind of FOMO opportunities and market movements. If that's not your thing, don't get dragged along by that, right? We are very clear in our narrative. We're very clear in our trajectory. We know where we're going. We see what the market potential is, but we also see what the business opportunities are and the business potential is. So, if that aligns with your beliefs, get on board. It's great. If that doesn't, just hang around and check it out and see what happens. But what I can say is that once we've delivered on this next phase, there are going to be 10 to 15 to 20 more phases. It's not the end until we have that kind of completely ubiquitous adoption across the board, and we'll continue to drive that from our point of view. So while it does seem like this market cycle is probably the most important in the world for a lot of people, everybody wants to capitalize on it, we're going to have that conversation again. I promise you, we're going to have that conversation again in a couple of years, and a couple of years after that, and probably a couple of years after that. And at each phase of that, we're going to be in a different position, and the questions will be different but the same. What are you guys going to do to get to the next 500 million? What are you going to do to get to the next institutional partnership or state level partnership, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I look forward to having those conversations. But in terms of promising, or in terms of telling you what the price of the token is going to be, there's absolutely no way that I'm going to get involved in any of that.
I had to put the screws to you, man, because I just know this is coming, and I see it. I see it in my DMs. I see it in the chats, and so. But this is awesome,
Appreciate
man. And I really do appreciate your answer there. So let's cap it off with this. What can the community expect over the next couple of months? Like, where's the big focus? We know it's Exchange, but that's such a kind of a generalized view.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, we're going to be kind of building out and really focusing on our kind of user acquisition. We want to create that grassroots awareness, which is why we've created the onboarding platform and the user acquisition platform, and the rewards and referrals processes, and we're going to sort of kickstart that with a bunch more and regular information around the prizes, the raffles, and really try to create some enthusiasm around introducing new people to our ecosystem, introducing new people to the project, bringing those people in through diverse kind of grassroots referrals, and working in partnership with KOLs, other teams, marketing partners, other projects. So you're going to see a lot more of that. This is just one parallel work stream. So, you're going to be seeing that. There's obviously the ongoing development work in, on the Exchange side, working with our partner around the integration with their technology, working through everything that we have, on the table with DevvE and the ongoing requirements there to build out POCs and other pieces. Then we've also got, in parallel again, our sort of, capital plans and all of the development work that we're doing there as well. So there's a lot happening, Austin. It's yeah.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And your answers were great. I had to, sometimes I just got to put the screws to you, Davin, and I appreciate you hanging with me, buddy. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. My name's Austin. Joining me every week, or semi-weekish, is Davin, and we'll catch you guys on the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Cheers.